There's a spark in your soul. Let it rise, let it glow. Hope is calling your name. You're not who you were. You've changed. Visions of hope, we rise, we grow. Healing hearts and faith and flow. Right here, right now, we know you were made for more.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Sorry that we are late, and I'm not even sure. I don't think that we are on IG at this moment because it's giving me some technical difficulties, but it's okay. We're going to keep moving. We are on YouTube as well as Facebook, and we're going to continue to move forward. Welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am Yolanda Naylor Kelly, your No More Drama Transform Trauma Coach, as some of my clients call me. I'm the founder and CEO of Visions of Hope Consultants, Inc. I'm a certified transformational life coach, as well as a certified trauma-informed coach and counselor. I do hope that everyone is able to view this on our guests' channel as well. Super excited to be with you tonight. It's been a while since we have been on this platform with you, but we definitely wanted to come before you tonight for this conversation about domestic violence. As you can see, I'm wearing my domestic violence shirt, as well as breast cancer awareness. And so we want to honor those who are survivors of breast cancer, with this being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as well as domestic violence awareness or domestic abuse awareness or intimate partner abuse awareness month. And so I want to go ahead, because we're starting late. I want to get our guest on the line. But thank you so much for always supporting Visions of Hope Transformational Coaching. It is our mission to empower, educate, inspire, and enlighten those whose lives we are blessed to touch. And so again, thank you so very much for joining with us tonight. Visions of Hope's goal is to restore mental and emotional wellness while nurturing personal growth and walking alongside individuals through healing from trauma, whether it be emotional, physical traumas. And we do believe that with God first, all things are possible. Visions of Hope sits at the intersection of faith, mental, and emotional well-being. And we do believe that it should not be separated, especially with conversations like we are going to have tonight. It is important to address all areas of life. We do believe that God created us as triune beings. And so we don't want to separate the body, soul, and spirit when it comes to dealing with these types of issues, because they're all impacted in some type of way. So Visions of Hope Visions of Hope's, say that 3 times twice. Visions of Hope's goal is to partner with individuals such as yourself in creating their best lives possible right now. And so again, tonight is all about that. I do want to establish some ground rules. Because of the content that we are sharing tonight, especially those on YouTube, we want to make sure that we're respectful for our guest and of our guest. Please, no name calling or labeling or shaming. Let's be just be kind in everything that we do. This is a safe space. Okay. So we want to make sure that although this is a sensitive topic, it can be very triggering for some. So please, by all means, if you feel that you need to step away or take a pause, please, by all means, do so. Take some deep breaths. Do what you need to do to maintain your emotional safety, okay, and your mental safety, okay, because again, this type of subject can be very triggering. Again, I said be kind. If you do decide to share stories in the comments or anything like that, please, by all means, be kind. Don't share names or anything like that. Thank you. Our guest she's doing her thing on the back end. She's in the green room and she's posting information. Feel free to comment, okay, so that we can show comments on the stage as well. Some comments will be shared, some of them will not be. But please be mindful in your sharing that you maintain anonymity or maintain confidentiality, because we don't want to disclose people's names and business and that kind of thing. We want this to be a safe space for everyone. Okay. And be clear. Comments should be uplifting. If you have a question to ask, please definitely ask a question or offer support. But please don't come in this space with conflict, because that's not what this space is about. Please be mindful of your disclosure, and just again, know that this is just a topic that we don't get to talk about often. It seemingly talked about most during this month. And that's why I wanted to have our guest on tonight. I'm not sure. I have some footage. I won't share it. Probably I'll post it a little bit later about this movie. There was a movie in 2012 called The Under Shepherd. I'm not sure if you remember that movie. Some of you may, some of you may not. That particular movie was about two ministers who were on the rise in a church to take over the church. One of the ministers, I think his name was L.C., played by Isaiah Washington, was a minister who was very, very power hungry. And if you remember the movie, he was very controlling of his wife and very abusive of her, to the point where she experienced some things like bulimia and different things like that, with the desire to be perfect for her husband. And one of the things that we want to point out tonight is that domestic violence or domestic abuse or intimate partner abuse is not always physical. Many times it starts off emotionally, then verbally, and then it becomes or escalates to physical violence. So again, you'll hear me pace myself as I'm talking, because my heart truly does go out to anyone who is experiencing or has experienced or been impacted by domestic abuse, intimate partner abuse. You will hear me say that interchangeably, because we are now in the mental health care space, reshaping and reframing the words around some of the things that survivors have experienced. So we won't call them victims. We call them survivors, okay? Unless they identify themselves as a victim. But we do not use those words any longer. We are getting away from using the word violence. And again, as you can see or hear, a lot of intimate partner violence or intimate partner abuse or domestic abuse, okay? So again, keep everything confidential. We have tools and resources for you that we will share with you, like the National Hotline for Domestic Violence. But again, do what you need to do. If you need to step away, I reiterate that. Please, by all means, step away. Excuse me. At this point, I am going to bring to the stage our guest, because she has been waiting. long enough. Um, I'm going to bring to the stage Natasha Allen. She is the founder of No More Secrets Inc. And let me bring her to the stage so I can share with you how we met, and then we'll go further. Welcome, 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 Natasha. Nice to see you again. Um, I just want to give a little backstory about how we met. Natasha and I were at an event on, was it October 4th, right? October 4th, I believe it was. It was the Girls Going After God anniversary, the 6th anniversary. And I'd like to shout out Pastor T. Ann Williams, one of my girls, one of my favorite people. And I actually am a part of Girls Going After God. And I was volunteering, which I often do with Girls Going After God. And my area happened to be the vendors. And I was also vending that day. And so I remember going around to all of the vendors, having to, get their door prize or what have you. And I went over to Natasha's table and I saw that she had product from her skincare line. Is that the proper way of saying it, Natasha?
Yes.
Her skincare line called Naturally Classy, right? And so she has body butters and lip balms and all of this stuff. I am a customer since that day. And I have to say the product is on point. When I initially went over, though, I went to see about that. I did not realize that this woman of God had this amazing story to share. I went back over at the end of the event to go get my product that I already put aside because, her stuff goes quickly. Okay. It's just that good. But I went back over to my products and I was able to see these bags that say, oh no, some of the people said that they can't find it anywhere on any platform. Well, we are recording, so hopefully people will catch it later. I'm not sure what's going on my end, and that's unfortunate, but I'm glad that we'll be able to share this later. That's all that matters. It is recording, and people will catch it in the replay. So I look at her table, and I see these bags, these to-go bags that have a book in it and these brochures. And I was like, well, what is this? And the bag said No More Secrets Inc., which is her not-for-profit or nonprofit organization. And so, Natasha, please tell us, give us some background on where you're from, your skincare line first, and then tell us how you started No More Secrets.
Okay, hey everybody. My name is Natasha, but please don't call me that. Just call me Tasha.
Okay, I'm gonna put from now on.
Tasha. I feel like my mama's calling me with my whole government name. I'm in trouble. So the skincare line is Naturally Classy. I make body butters, lip balm, healing balms, joint and muscle relief salves, hair oil, hair butters, beard oil, beard butter, bar soap, what else? Oh, herbal steams. I used to do shampoo and conditioners as well. I kind of stopped with that. But and body washes. Yeah. So that's the skincare line. I believe in taking what God made to help heal who God made. I'm also a certified herbalist, so I believe in getting as natural as you can to help take care of your skin. I also have a business consulting company where I help people turn their hobbies into legitimate businesses. So I help you get your LLC, your nonprofit paperwork, your EIN, your DUNS number, your 501c3, all that good stuff. And then, which is actually my first baby is No More Secrets. It's my nonprofit where I deal with domestic violence within the church. I'm specifically within the church world because they don't like to talk about it. And as a person who went through it for 5.5 years, coming out, dealing with it while going to church, I realized it's a conversation that they definitely avoid. And coming out, I realized it's a conversation that cannot be avoided. And so that's where I started domestic violence. I mean, not domestic violence, no more secrets. To take the muzzle off of the mouths of the victims and survivors. Because even though you're no longer a victim, the reality is you're still not free until you share your testimony. The Bible says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so your testimony is not only to help somebody else, sometimes it's to help yourself. It's to help free yourself. So yeah, that's why I started No More Secrets.
Wow. So first of all, thank you. Thank you so much again for consenting. We again spoke that day, and we were like, yeah, we got to connect, because we immediately connected about domestic violence, about the fact that it's not spoken about enough. And then you further shared, it's definitely not spoken about in the church, which I could say is a lot of different issues. I think we are in a time right now where the church is open to addressing more things than we used to, especially post-COVID. I believe, especially in the mental health care space, we're seeing a lot of dysfunctional behaviors. We're seeing, as it's called today, crashing out. And I do believe that the church on a whole is in a space where they're open to address certain things that they may not be, or I should say we may not be, or have the tools to address. So I think a lot of times topics like this get pushed away or pushed aside, not just because it's taboo to talk about, but because the church may not have the tools to deal with it. I was with my family on Sunday. We had gone apple picking, all women, and we were just talking about like the different generations and how one generation was a silent generation, right? And no one talked about anything. This stuff was going on, right? Domestic violence at the time, all of that's going on. We can pull up any given movie from back in the day in that setting or time frame and see domestic violence. And it was almost as if it was accepted that that was a way of life, that the man went out, he worked, and he abused the wife, or he put her in a place, and all of the things, and they didn't talk about it. And then you came down to the baby boomer generation, which I call the sweep it under the rug generation. Like their parents told them, what happens in this house stays in this house. And so it wasn't talked about. We may have seen, or they may have seen abuse or something going on, whether inside the home or outside of the home. But it was that energy of like, I'm gonna mind my business, or I'm gonna protect mine at the expense of injury. So on the flyer, we talk about silence is violence. So you have the silent generation that didn't say anything, and we ended up with people who, experienced abuse or were impacted in a way that wasn't healthy. And then that next generation, we're just not going to talk about it. And then you had, my generation and perhaps your generation and the generations that are following that are like, oh, no, we're not going to not talk about this. Like, this is really an issue.
Right.
And there's a better way to do it. And as you said, talking about it and sharing your testimony is one of the ways to start. I'm a very firm believer that it's important for us to start having these hard conversations, because in this particular um, type of situation, many people, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, feel that they are experiencing it alone, right? So we don't talk about it, it further alienates the person that's experiencing it. And so I'm a very, very huge advocate for us sharing our testimony. I had someone once say to me, oh, if you are still talking about this, or if people are still talking about this, then they haven't healed. And that's just not true.
I don't know.
It's just not true. In fact, talking about it and getting it out of your body helps you to heal. That's
Right.
very, very. There's a book, and the people on my platform have heard me talk about the book, The Body Keeps the Score, all the time. I was
Mhm.
talking to somebody else today about, like, just getting feedback about domestic violence and their, opinions about it and things of that nature. And the person made a good point, and one I would really, really agree with, that even if it's emotional abuse, it still affects you physically.
Yes.
If it's verbal abuse, it affects you physically. And that's why Visions of Hope doesn't separate those three things. We are spiritual beings having an earthly experience. We are body, soul, and spirit. And so if I don't deal with the things that I'm impacted by, whether it's abuse or what have you, it is going to affect me physically. So I want to get a little deeper into your story. Can you just share? I'm going to get off camera and I'm just going to allow you space to just share your testimony. We talked about it last week. You shared it with me, so I don't want anybody to think that this is going to be the first time I'm hearing it. But I want to give you the time to share that with everyone.
Okay. So I'm gonna age myself a little bit. Well, let's start secondhand. So I've experienced domestic violence, not just firsthand, but secondhand. 2003, I believe it was September 13th. My aunt was leaving her ex-husband, or leaving her husband. He was on drugs, and she got tired of it. Well, I woke up. It was a little bit after midnight. I woke up to the sound of my aunt screaming for her life. I ran down the stairs and saw the second floor of my house, like, covered. There was just a lot of screaming and covered in blood, and it was a lot, right? So I ran back upstairs. My mother told my brother and I to get in her room, lock the door, and don't come out. So that's what we did. We tried to pick up the phone to call, but the other line of the phone was already off the hook. So um, there was no way of reaching outside world. Mind you, this is 2003. So I literally was just 18. Cell phones weren't as popular as they are now. So we didn't have a cell phone. I think the best phone carrier out there was like Voice Stream or something like that. That's how old it was. When everything has subsided, I looked out the window. Me and my brother looked out the window. We saw the man who we considered uncle, in a khaki sweater, covered in blood, and he had his hands out to the cops and said, "Yeah, I did it. Arrest me." That's us being in the moment. After I saw that, I ran down the stairs. I saw again the second floor of our house covered in blood. Um, Everything was thrown like all around the place. We had a fairly nice sized house. And my aunt was on the EMS stretcher and her head was wrapped and her face was bleeding. I didn't know exactly what happened. So um, my mother then started explaining to me what was going on. She said, "Your grandmother is already in the ambulance on the way to the hospital." And I'm like, "But what happened?" So He broke in our house with a brick. We had a brick house. He broke in our house with a brick, hit my aunt and my grandmother in the head with the brick, hit my aunt in the face with the brick. My grandmother lost a pint of blood before the EMS ever got to the house. My aunt attempted to call 911, and because of a friend of the family who's a 911 operator, she looked up the call. The EMS and cops never came because they put it down as a domestic dispute. Whole another thing for me. Then my mother saw him lift my grandmother up, wrap her head in a towel. And when my mother saw that, she ran out the house, ran around the corner to my godparents. My godfather, who was a cop at the moment, called in cop down. And that's the only reason why the cops and EMS came to my house. We found out later on in the trial that he said his own admittance, he said he was trying to take out the whole house. That was secondhand for me. 2 out of 3 floors of my house was covered in blood. That was September 13th. I had just started college. I had just graduated high school, June of 2003. And so that happened September of 2003. And every time I stepped into a classroom, they still had blackboards back then. Every time I stepped into a classroom, all I could see was blood splattered across the blackboard. And after the first semester, I was just going to school to go to the lunch room area to play spades and dominoes and make some money because I couldn't concentrate. I really could not concentrate. That was secondhand. Fast forward. 2003 I graduated, so it had to be 2008, maybe. 2008. I met my ex-husband on MySpace. Another dating myself because everybody was fighting for the top 10, right? So I met him. I had not just, but kind of recently had gotten out of a relationship. And I was on MySpace, minding my business. I get an inbox, and I loved poetry, right? And it was a nice long poem. I mean, it was beautiful. And I was like, oh, who's this person sending? I don't know this person. So I was like, who is this person sending me like this poem? So we got to know each other. He was from upstate, like Rockland County, which is above Westchester in New York. And I'm from the Bronx. So it wasn't that long of a drive. So we would meet up and he would come down or whatever. And I should have known something was up because his anger, like sometimes he would come, it would be late. So sometimes he would come, I would fall asleep by accident, or I would fall asleep and forget to call him or whatever. And the level of anger that he exuded, I was not accustomed to. And that should have been the ultimate red flag. However, I still proceeded. And 6 months into the relationship, he took a keychain with the nail cutter and the nail file that's in the cutter. He stabbed me with it in my chest, in my back, and in my stomach. All because he did not want to come in the house with my friends that I grew up with in church, and we were just reminiscing because everybody had started splitting. So he didn't want to come in. And for me, that was important that you meet my people. This is family for me. And so we got into that altercation. That was the first physical altercation ever. Let's just say by the end of the night, he came in the house and had the nerve to pray with everybody. Meanwhile, after he stabbed me, I was so shocked that it ever happened. I actually ran in the house, went to the bathroom, quiet. I saw myself, my chest. I had a white t-shirt on. I started seeing the little dots through the t-shirt. I took some peroxide. I wiped my chest and my stomach. I couldn't reach my back. Um, and I let out a silent cry. Like one of those, like one of those. And that was the beginning of me putting on the thickest mask I've ever put on. Um, After that, I've been stabbed. I've had my ribs cracked because he's punched me with a combination lock in his hand, all because he didn't want to go to my mother's. It was her 50th and her 50th birthday and her initial sermon. So she did a twofer. She answered the call on her birthday. And it was such an amazing service. But that was also 3 months before we were scheduled to get married. And so he didn't want to go. And I'm like, why you don't want to go? That's supposed to be your mother-in-law. You know, she's done so much for you. Like, he at one point lived in the house with the family. And, you know, like, the least you could do, all you have to do is show up. You know, you're not preaching. You're not doing anything. The least you could do is show up. And he did not want to go. So we got into an altercation. First verbal, of course. And I don't know where this combination lock came from. Like, I don't know why it was in the kitchen. But all I remember was me laying on the kitchen floor in a fetal position, begging God to kill me. I would have rather God taken me that day than him. And so all of that was over. And what happened? He still ended up going to the church. Find out, I go to the church, my brother's there, and they said we was going to be the MCs of the service. Go figure. Nobody knows I'm in pain. I'm going there with a smile on my face. It's my mama's birthday. It's a great event. I'm not going to, bless you, Miss Lisa. I'm not going to, you know, overshadow the event with what I'm dealing with. And so, another layer of a mask. And so the power of God hit so strong. My mom was a good preacher. The power of God hit so strong. There was like a praise break at the end. And so my family came together and was shouting. And I'm holding my side. And I guess they think that's part of my new shout because they haven't seen me in a while. But I was holding my side because I was in pain. I was holding my side because if I didn't, I probably would have collapsed on the floor. And here he goes sitting in the second row just looking, all stush and all like crazy, right? I have been kicked. I've been pushed. I've been locked outside of our apartment, had to sleep in my car several nights because he locked me out. I didn't just endure physical abuse. I endured emotional, mental, verbal, financial abuse. I would give him my check every 2 weeks. And out of my check that was supposed to be going towards bills, he gave me $50 and then told me to, you know, that was supposed to suffice for 2 weeks in New York City. Yeah, sure. And then before the first week was over, he asked for some of the $50 back. And I'm like, how am I supposed to eat lunch and stuff? Like, what? The phones was always off. The rent was always late. The bills was always late. Um, the lights was off. Cable was always off. Always had to switch to another company. My credit was destroyed. Um, I didn't even know anything about credit then because I got married at 25 because I made an inner vow to myself that by the age of 25 I was going to be married come hell or high water. And that's exactly what happened. Um, and so it was just a lot. Um, I've had hot tea and coffee thrown at me when I've tried to escape. I had long hair by then. Like my hair would grow down to here, and then I would cut it, and then it would grow back down. And when I would run away, like try to run away, he would run after me. I don't know how he would get that fast because he couldn't run. Like he was chunky. Like I don't understand. But he found the strength. Demons, when somebody's under a demonic oppression, like things happen that normally wouldn't happen, right? So he would run and chase me. I would jump on the bus. He would drag me by my hair off the bus or drag me by my hair out of a cab and like drag me back to the house in public and nobody would say or do anything. Um, the last time he physically assaulted me, it was such a long story. That day was, I would have promised you it was 48 hours in one day because that day was just long. I asked him to take me to the church because I was doing VBS at the church we attended. Um, he didn't want to take me. Cell phones are off, so I had no cell phone. He was going to leave me stranded at the Palisades Center Mall. Rockland County is not like New York. There's no bus coming every 10, 15 minutes. That's like every 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes, depending on the route. I had no way of getting to the church. I had no money. And so, let's just say by the end of that day, I told him, I said, I'll get in the car with you. You can drive to work. I'll take the car, go to the church, pick you back up, and we'll just handle it like that. He didn't want to do that. So we end up getting on I-87, crossing the then Tappan Zee Bridge, rush hour morning traffic. Heavy traffic. And I don't know how it happened, but he found a way to unbuckle my seatbelt and open the door like in a matter of seconds before I could even catch anything. He then tried to push me out of the car while he was driving. And all I could see was my light flash before my eyes. And I blacked out. And next thing you know, my hand and my fist went upside his head while he was driving. So that was crazy on my part. But I saw me being ran over by trucks and cars. So at this point, it's like my life or yours. I don't care. So once I hit him, he came to himself and then he drove off the highway and went to an abandoned gas station. Mind you, we're in Rockland County, so we're in his territory, right? So he knows what to do. He knows where to go. He used to be a truck driver. He knows all the ins and outs. So take me to an abandoned gas station. I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, what? Let's just go. He gets out the car. I thought I had the car door locked. And apparently I didn't. He opened the car door, dragged me out the car, beat me in broad daylight in my head to the point where my hearing is still affected. Like even right now, to this day. And this is what? 13 years later? No, this is about 13 years later. My hair is still affected. And thank you, Von Marie. Hey, boo. And so I Let's just say by the end of that altercation, guess where we ended up? Back at the church. The place where I asked you to go to begin with. Where all of this could have been avoided. And so I didn't even realize. No, sorry. After he dragged me out the car, mind you, we was in an abandoned gas station. There was a bus stop full of people, and no one said anything. No one did anything. No one crossed the street to stop him. No one did anything, right? After that, he drove me to Nyack Hospital. I'll never forget that. He drove me to Nyack Hospital, and I looked at him and said, if I go in this hospital, you're going to jail. And he drove off and then drove to the church. I went in the church, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Mind you, I haven't seen myself. I don't know what I look like. Still have pebbles, like in my skin and my clothes. I'm dirty because I literally was on gravel as he was doing all of this. And they was like, Tasha, you okay? I was like, what are you talking about? They was like, yo, go in the bathroom and look at yourself. Went in the bathroom, cuts, scratches, hair, crazy. And my face, of course, I'm crying. So my eyes are bloodshot red, bags are there. It looks crazy. And I look at myself in the mirror, I was like, yo, like, this is it. And so I cleaned myself up. And the women of the church just looked at me. I was like, are you okay? And because the mask was on for so long, my natural response was a lie. All I could tell them was, yeah, I'm fine. I must have scratched myself in my sleep or something. I don't know. I don't know. And I proceeded to do VBS. I proceeded to cook and feed the kids. And he stayed there the entire time. In between that, I was a praise and worship leader. I would get cussed out on the way to church, leave the people in the worship, get cussed out on the way home from church. Very controlling as to what I wore. Fiscally irresponsible because he would take my money, use it for his Xbox games, and use it for his clothes. But I had to always shop at Burlington Coat Factory. I had to go to the $5 shoe store. I could barely get my hair done. I had to always do my hair. And the excuse was, well, you went to cosmetology school, so you know what you're doing. You don't have to pay to have other people do your hair, which is true. But as women, you know, you like to be pampered from time to time. Yeah, I maybe went to the salon 4 times a year. Nails was a treat. My birthdays, never celebrated. Nothing big. Never tried to get my family together to, you know, do a dinner at least. Nothing. Which is why I go so hard every year for my birthday. I go hard every single year. I'm known for my birthday celebrations now. And I'm known to get my nails done. I get my nails done faithfully. And I will say this. Towards the end of the marriage, because I'm very transparent, I'm very open. And so towards the end of the marriage, I would say I wasn't a good girl. I wasn't faithful. I wanted out the marriage, so I cheated. And this leads into the spiritual abuse. I cheated. If you're going to judge me, I don't care. Judge me, judge your mama, I don't care. And I didn't get caught cheating. Like, let's be honest. As women, when we want to do something, we do it very well. And so it was hidden. And when I got tired, I told him because I wanted out. And what he did was he went to the leaders of the church and told the pastor that I cheated And in turn, the pastor called the meeting. Like they looked up who I cheated with, and like, it was ridiculous. And they had all of the male ministers of the church in that meeting. I will be honest and say to this day, I hate church meetings. Like, I hate if I have to go into an office and there's multiple people there. Like, I hate it. Like, it gives me anxiety still. I'll be honest with that. So we're talking about 6 to 8 male ministers with my ex-husband. 1 female minister there with me. Just 1. So imagine the trauma of it all. The man who has tried to kill you multiple times now is playing the victim because you cheated, and I own it. Like, it is what it is. I'm going to be honest. I'm not mad I cheated on him. I'm mad I broke the covenant with God, not him. That's my truth. And it is what it is. You broke the covenant every time you tried to kill me. Right? And so with that, so that meeting. So I found it interesting that you were quick to run to them to tell them I cheated, but you wasn't quick to run to them and tell them you was trying to kill me for 5 years. And when I showed them my scars, before that meeting, I showed them that he had hit me. I showed them scars. There was no meeting called. There was no intervention. When I told them I was ready to leave prior to that meeting, I was told to not go home to my family, but to stay with somebody at that church. And I went home with my family. I left about twice before I finally left. And and once I left, the last month, October of that year, I think it was 2012 or 2013. I told him at the beginning of the month, I said, by the end of this month, I'm gone. And when I said that was the most peaceful time of our entire relationship, that was more peaceful than when we first met. And ever since then, I've been free from him. And I've been divorced maybe 11 years. So, yeah. Wait, unmute yourself.
I was gathering myself. I was going to tell everyone just where we are. Just take a deep breath. And take another one. Breathing helps us to, regulate. That was a lot. And I want to thank you for sharing, because I'm sure, well, it's not easy to hear. I would never assume to know how you feel telling it. It's talking about domestic abuse in the church. Oh, that's a good question. I have some questions. Yes, people, if you all have questions, please share your questions. All comments may not be able to get on the feed, but yes, this is a powerful testimony. And as that's my sister Vermarie, she said, I'm so happy you're free. I am happy too that you're free. I'm happy that you made it out, because we all know that there are situations where people don't make it out. And I'm not going to lie to you that this, we spoke, last week, and we talked about this. And I believe that the enemy tried to make me feel nervous in a way about sharing this. Growing up in church, we know church culture. about a month or so ago, I spoke a message at church about church culture, not kingdom culture, but
Mm.
church culture. And there is a difference. Anybody that's on my platform or has heard me speak before know that I don't use the word body of Christ and church interchangeably, because many times church culture is not representative of who Jesus is and what Jesus did. And as a change maker, as a peacemaker, not a peacekeeper, because there is a difference, I believe in doing what Jesus did. And Jesus disrupted behaviors that were not conducive to following him. And so, again, I want to thank you for your transparency. I want to thank you for your vulnerability. I don't, you are a beautiful soul. Just from the time that I've connected with you, you have such a beautiful smile.
Thank you.
To see that and know what you'd experienced is a miracle. It is truly a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna I have some questions. I'm gonna ask one of the questions that came up, and then I'll get into my questions. Um, One of the questions that came up was, what took you so long to leave? And they have some other follow-up questions, so I'll just start with that one first.
So I ask myself all the time, but and so please understand that me laughing does not mean I'm diminishing the topic.
Let me interrupt there. I do the same thing. I was talking to my therapist, because when I'm like sharing certain things with my therapist, and everybody knows that I advocate for therapy, okay? Routine therapy, okay?
Right.
Just go get a doctor's appointment and you get go to therapy, go to counseling. I'm telling you, it'll bless you. But I do the same thing. I laugh when I'm sharing, and it's not because it's funny or humorous per se, but it's almost like for me at least, it's almost like I can't even believe that like I went through that, or that I'm here or whatever. Yeah, it's the way of processing. That's what it is. Mm-hmm.
So I recently learned that there is they took a CAT scan of the brain from somebody who was not traumatized and somebody who was traumatized. And the part of the brain that was traumatized actually was blackened out from the part of the brain that actually makes reasonable decisions, logical decisions. So, why did it take me so long to leave? I was not in my right mind.
Wow.
My abnormal became my normal.
Mm.
I left the first time I left and came back because coming home felt weird.
I'm sorry, when you say coming home felt weird, you mean going back to
Going back to my family's house felt weird. I was also young. It was my first chance to experience freedom outside of my house. So living on my own, with a man, because at that time when I moved out, he wasn't my husband. That's a whole thing. You don't move in unless he's your husband, but whatever. Old people call it shacking up. I don't care. But to answer that question, I was not in my right mind.
wow.
And specifically, I was not in my right mind. And so that's what it took me so long. Did I think it would get better? The ignorant part of me, yes, I did. I did not know, and I was told that marriage magnifies the issues that are already there. I was also somewhat living in a fantasy that marriage would help help the problems get better.
Yeah.
Did I think it would change? I was hoping and praying. as much as I could. I was hoping and praying. Because let me tell you about the twisted side of this. He went to church. He was saved. He was prophetic and could tap in. So I'm thinking, well, God, if you could speak to him about other people, can you speak to him about him?
Wow.
Like, can that happen? Because I know the God that speaks to me about me before he give me a word for any and everybody else. I know that God, right? So I was praying that. And then being caught in the cycle of abuse when the honeymoon phase kicks in, you're like, oh, there's some hope. Things are going to get better. Now, mind you, I didn't know anything about the cycle of abuse. I didn't know anything about honeymoon phase. This is me living in it, ignorant of what it was. Because even though my family went through it in 2003, we didn't get any counseling.
Mm.
No police department came to us and did a follow up. We had no help after that situation. Mind you, there's a whole newspaper article about it. Like, we had no help. The way my family should have sued New York City, we should have been filthy rich at this point. But
Wow.
there was no follow up. So I was literally ignorant going into and dealing with what I dealt with. My knowledge did not come until after the fact. So all this vocabulary and verbiage that I have now, I had none of it back then. None of it from 2003, none of it from 2011, all the way up to 2008, all the way up to 2013. I had no verbiage. All I know is he was hitting me, he was cussing me out, I was cussing him back out. He tried to kill me. Towards the end, I basically I went to sleep with a knife under my pillow because I snapped. And I said, well, I'm going to try to take him out while he's sleeping. I was about to be anally scheming how to get away with murder before the show ever came out.
Right. Right.
At that point, your mind is not fully there. You want out by any means necessary. And the truth of the matter is sometimes the abused will flip around and become the abuser because you want out. Like, you don't know any other way. And towards the end, honestly, when I started recognizing like there was a change in his eyes right before something happened, and I'm short, I'm only 5'2 3/4.
Yeah, because you're shorter than me. You're shorter than me. I'm short too. But I always talk about people being shorter than me. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That was just a little joke.
When I'm next to my grandmother, I feel tall. So, and I'm short, but once I saw his eyes change, I stopped caring. I stood 10 toes down and I went at him like, yo, what you about to do this time? I got to that point. Like, looked him in his eyes. I was like, I dare you. That Bronx chick rose up in me towards the end of that marriage. I was like, I did not care.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going for blood towards the end. I was like, I don't care.
So you were in full on survivor mode, like by any means necessary.
I tried flight. Flight didn't work. So at this point, I was fighting. I was gonna fight my way out. And once he saw that, he was like, "Oh, she snapped."
I want to go back to. I mean, you definitely flowing because you answered all the questions that that person had. What took you so long to leave? You addressed. Did you think it would get better? And that is something that we definitely hear a lot about in abuse situations or domestic abuse situations, that the person thinks it gets better. I want to go back to what you were talking about the cycle of abuse. Can you explain that to us, for those, because there are some of us that don't know what that is? What exactly is the cycle of abuse? And speak to that honeymoon phase.
So the cycle of abuse, just like I said, like a caterpillar goes in the cocoon to become a butterfly. The cycle of abuse goes from the incident. It's a honeymoon phase. No, the incident. After the incident occurs, then it goes into the honeymoon phase where there's peace and love and apologies and how can I make it up and all the woo-woos, right? Love bombing can happen then.
Mhm.
You probably feel the most love during the honeymoon phase. Then it'll start getting a little tense. Then it'll get a little bit more tense. And then the incident will happen. And then after the incident happens, the person comes to themselves again, and the honeymoon phase goes right back into it. Like it's a little cycle. And towards the end, although I didn't have the verbiage for it to say that it was a cycle, I caught it.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that anger was a demon. I saw the switch in his eyes, and I chose to combat it. But I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't doing the whole Hikamashanda or da 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 da. No, I wasn't. I was not combating it with the word of God. I was not combating it with tongues.
Let's talk about that a little bit because obviously I brought you on because your experience. I don't even want to say is unique because I do believe that this is happening more than we probably are aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reason why I wanted you to come on because again, the suffering in silence and thinking that I'm the only one that's going through this, the going to church and hiding your wounds, whether they be mental, emotional, or physical, the denial, the thinking that it's going to get better, all of those things, the spiritual bypassing. I've talked about spiritual bypassing a lot on my platform. Some people call it Jesus glitter. Um, that's why again, Visions of Hope sits at the intersection of faith, mental, and emotional well-being. Because no one's saying don't pray. You said you weren't praying. Like you had it by that point, right? No one's saying don't pray about the situation because prayer is in order, right? And not but and because I think the church we have gotten so comfortable with the word but that we don't understand that two things can be true at the same time. For an example, I said to somebody recently, we have a struggle with realizing that and I'm using this as an example, a man can be a good father, but not a good husband.
Absolutely.
That a person can be kind, they can be a great worker, but not be a good leader in the church. And these are just examples. And I think the church struggles with being able to navigate the dichotomy of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a great opportunity. Having conversations like this is a great opportunity for us to be able to say, okay, wait a second. So this individual went through this. This is what I see. We get to hold a person accountable while at the same time praying for them, while we pray for the situation to get better for years. And you spoke to it. You got to the point where you're like, I'm not praying about it because you, if I heard you correctly, said you went to church. And if I remember, you said it last week when we spoke, and I think you said it here earlier, that they told you to pray. Did I hear you say they said separate and then get back together?
Yeah. So that church offered free counseling for the members, which I believe every church should offer. So that part is cool. I went to them and showed them my scars from an incident.
Mm-hmm.
We had an incident. He pushed like one of the shopping carts into my leg. I was bleeding. I had scars, blah, blah, blah. And so when we went to church that night, I told him, I was like, I'm tired of this. This is what I'm dealing with. I lifted up my pants leg. I said, look, this is the minimum of what I've dealt with. And it was a whole big thing after church and blah, blah, blah. And they said, y'all could separate, get counseling. They did not want me to go back home to my family.
Your family, the home you came from before you got married.
Correct.
Okay.
Everybody in my house is saved. I wasn't going home to danger. I was going home to love. I came from a house of love. Not perfection, but love. My grandmother at the time was the assistant pastor of the church I grew up in. My mom was a minister. My uncle that was living with us at the time, God had completely turned his life around. He was hooked on drugs, and God literally gave him a 180. Like, it was amazing. My aunt was there, an evangelist in the church. My brother and sister-in-law was there. Like, I was going home to love.
Mm-hmm.
And so, no, not my sister-in-law. She didn't come in the picture yet. My brother was there, and he was the drummer of the church. And like, I wasn't going home to anything abusive. I was going home to love. And so for me, I could not understand why y'all would not want me to go home to my family, but y'all want me to stay with somebody in the church. Mind you, I did not get super close with a lot of church people. Like, he was Haitian, so I was cool with the Haitian people, Sakwase, you know, and I but the older people, it was really like high, minimal conversation, but I wasn't like, I didn't have their phone numbers, I wasn't calling them. So you're gonna tell me to now go and live with somebody there that I don't know?
Right.
Yeah, no. I was always the rebel in that church anyway, because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even the doctrine, it was just certain practices. I was like, this is really like borderline cultish. That's what it was for me. Like, on outside looking in, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this is culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know people to do stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah.
So, again, it's just very interesting, just to hear. It's just very interesting to hear, and it's not for those that are watching to cast a reflection on every church, because
Right. Every
it's
church.
not every church, and every church doesn't handle things the same way. I
Correct.
have to say that because people get so, in a tizzy. Oh, she's talking about the church, and well, guess what? Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to have conversations like this, and maybe other conversations, because now is a great time, a learning opportunity for the body, for the church, or whatever, the people of faith, or however you want to put it, for
Mhm.
us to really, really learn,
Very true.
for us to learn. We do a disservice to the people in the pews by turning a deaf ear and a blind eye to
Mhm.
situations that are very present, because we don't have the wherewithal or the tools to deal with it. So when you said, that the church offered free counseling, that's amazing. That's huge.
Yeah.
And I think that that is something I do believe right now in the season that we're in, that this is something that churches can do. This is, bring somebody in, like, encourage it, because I'm sorry. I know my life, and I know everything was not just going to be dealt with in prayer alone. Yes, pray. Yes, read your word. And I need to go talk to somebody. It's, to me, it's the same thing with the physical. And we're gonna wrap up and give us about 15 more minutes. There are some other questions that are coming in. And hi, Lisa. I have just to kind of interject a little bit. Lisa, she's a part of the DCC family, and I have a skit that I'm going to be posting that she shared. She's an awesome actress, and she did some content about domestic abuse as well. And
Oh,
sharing that, she shared some stuff with me. But it really is a good opportunity right now, and a good time, I think, for all of us to learn. There's so many different scenarios and different situations that sit right in the pews that leaders may not be aware of. And so I say that also to say that just as much as leaders may not be aware of it, it is our responsibility, I feel, as parishioners, to, if we feel safe enough, to seek out support from our leadership. You said that, it wasn't handled in the best way. I think that your testimony sheds light on maybe what could be handled differently, because we can no longer afford to just send people off to the altar or tell them, oh, read your word, God will work it out. People are suicidal these days, and people are just feeling lost these days because they've come to their wits' end. God forbid you were ready to get out of that situation by any means necessary. It could have turned out differently for you.
So
You
I told
have
them,
been here.
I told them, and I said it to the pastor's face. I said, y'all knew what I was going through and did not intervene properly. Mind you, the pastor went through the same thing to the point where she gave birth to a stillborn child.
Oh my Lord.
And so I thought in my mind, well, if anybody would be an advocate for me, anybody would be on my side, it was her. You know, her West Indian culture. She told me she didn't even tell her parents. Both of her parents are dead. They went to be home with the Lord, not knowing their daughter ever was abused by her husband.
Wow.
Right? So this is why my organization, I actually do forums and workshops and trainings. I go into houses of worship that, you know, want me to come in, and I train the ministerial staff. I have forums. I bring in one of the guys. I have a man on my team, who talks about the male side of domestic violence, because it's not a female issue; it's a human issue.
It's a human issue. Thank you for saying
And
that.
I even have a friend. He just came out of it, 62 days in jail, wrongly prosecuted because his wife pulled I want to say the scam of a lifetime on him. Like falsely lied to the cops, lied to the courts that he strangled her, abused her. 7 charges against him. He spent 62 days in jail and just got out maybe a month and a half ago.
Wow.
So yeah, this thing is serious. And mind you, he's a pastor. So when I say this thing is serious, it's serious out here. This is 2025 and stuff like that is still happening. Okay, and so I'm tired of the pray, go fast and pray, and then a lot of the fast and praying, the people don't come back to church because they end up on the line.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
Whew.
And let's be clear, just because you're a pastor, just because you're a preacher, does not mean you're qualified.
Natasha froze up a little bit, and hopefully we'll get her back. I am going to take her off wait for her to come back and just take her off the stage for a minute. This is heavy. This is very heavy. Let me just send her something in the chat. This is heavy content. And again, I am not the kind of person, she's back. Not the kind of person to shy away from this. Even hearing you say your friend experienced it, and the woman that you went to, she was the pastor and went through it. It speaks again to how silence is violence. Like, not talking about this. We've got to talk about this and make sure our people are good. A conversation I was having with somebody earlier today was about, being supportive of the abused. And I think you're sharing about going back and why you went back. And I was looking at something today about, having a plan and making sure when you leave that you're safe. There's so many different things to consider. It would be beneficial if the church did have resources available. The church can't do everything, but whatever we can do, if we could do that. So I want to address some questions really quick, because We could talk about this all night. Someone asked the question, did you fear for your life the entire time?
Um, so it's like big yeses and little yeses.
What does that mean?
So big yeses were in the height of the arguments and um, the but there's another part of domestic violence that people are confused with when it comes to sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the rape and the molestation. It's also when you feel like if you don't have sex with your spouse, your life is in danger.
Thank you for sharing that.
So, you know, that happened over the course of 5 years. Um, so the big yeses would be like when I felt the arguments coming and my body would tense up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or when he tried to get romantic, um, which was a sad case. But I felt like if I didn't do it, I may not have woken up the next day. Or I would have, what other part of my body would have got hit or broken or fractured or, Um, so the little yeses would be there was always an undertone of fear.
Mm-hmm.
There was always an underlining of fear. So in a way, yeah. But when the honeymoon phase is in, it kind of alleviates the big yeses and, kind of eases it out a little bit. But yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know, did you mention children? Because someone said
No,
um,
I'm children.
you didn't
But
have any children. Okay.
good Lord. He knew what he was doing.
God, God keeps us in many, many ways. He knows, right, what we can take. Someone asked, someone said people often ignore the red flags, and I'm going to put it on the camera. People often ignore the red flags and the warning signs of a relationship that can eventually become domestic. What's the advice for men and women in that space?
First step is isolation. Usually the first signal, first big red flag is isolation. And isolation doesn't just mean, oh, child, the book has been written for almost 7 years. I'm almost done with it. um, Isolation as far as trying to make it seem like they want your attention, but won't allow you to live a life like with your friends or with your family. So it can be disguised as quality time. But the reality is, if they don't want you to be with anybody outside of them, that's isolation. My ex-husband moved me to a different state, um, from New York, moved me to Jersey. It was close and far all at the same time because I don't know anybody in Jersey. Moved me to a little Spanish town. I don't speak that much Spanish. I'm from the Bronx, so we know bare minimum. Yo hablo poquito español, and that's about all you get.
You said that.
That much. I know how to order food and know how to read it, but I cannot speak Spanish fluently. And he didn't either, which was the crazy part. But it's all the tactic of isolation and control. Your body, like the way God designed our bodies is so amazing. Our bodies will tell us when something is wrong. Your spirit will tell you when something is wrong, whether you choose to listen to it or not. It's going to speak for you. It's going to speak to you. If your body naturally tenses up around a person, then you need to watch out for that person.
That's so good. That is so good. I think those are things that we ignore, especially when you're in a relationship with someone. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells every time, again, this is not just about the physical, it's about the verbal, it's about the emotional and mental abuse. And so if you can't be free to be around a person
Be
or
yourself.
be comfortable being yourself,
Mhm.
that is so good. So good. Thank you so much for sharing. We're going to get ready to wrap up, but When you think back on what you experienced, when did you realize that it was? When did you realize something wasn't right, and what helped you to label it abuse?
Well, child, if something wasn't right was when he first stabbed me. Let's be clear. I knew that wasn't right. Um, but to label it abuse, I'll be honest, that didn't happen until after I came out.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't have the verbiage. I just said this. No, let me stop. I think towards the end, when I got tired, I reached out to a good friend, and when I say I had hidden email addresses, like I was trying to reach out slowly but surely to people I know wasn't close as far as proximity. So
Mhm.
running away on weekends, um, yeah. So I was reaching out like with hidden email addresses and stuff like that. Um, and I said something is wrong. I didn't label it as abuse. All I said was he's hitting me and he's been trying to kill me.
And so
And
that's interesting. I'm sorry.
I just said I want out. That's all I kept on saying. I want out. I want out. But it kept on. I don't want to say it kept on sucking me back in because I also come from a family full of divorces,
Mm,
and so
mm,
I don't want to be another statistic in the family.
that's
You
real.
so there's a lot of things going through your mind
Hmm.
when you're married or when you have children. I don't have children, but speaking to other people, when you have children trying to leave, there's a whole different mindset in leaving. You got to create a safety plan. You got to get extra documents, extra copies of your documents, the kids' documents. Have them with someone that you trust, but someone that your spouse doesn't think would have them, like a school secretary or something. You have to stack up your money. You have to reach family members for help. Like there's a lot of things that take place in order for you to leave. And so it's a lot. But to answer your question, towards the end of it, I never labeled it as abuse until I left, but I just reached out and told somebody I was like something wrong.
Thank you so much for that. So I would imagine I know what this answer is going to be, but what was your feeling in terms of like shame and embarrassment, and how did that play into you staying or leaving?
The shame came for me every time I saw a, a bruise, every time I saw a cut, every time I had sex and didn't answer, every time he called me out of my name, every time I saw my family and couldn't tell them what happened. That's when shame
Hmm.
came. Yeah.
Wow. That's I can't imagine. I can't imagine, especially with you saying that you came from a family of love. So did you find yourself not wanting to be around your family as much?
I wasn't around my family a lot.
You weren't around them a lot.
Wasn't. Like maybe if I look back, maybe only like big holidays. Like I'm gonna be honest, I only remember one birthday I had with him, and that was because my brother paid for my birthday.
Mm,
I do not remember celebrating any of my birthdays with my ex.
wow. And that's why you said earlier you go hard, you
Oh
know.
my God, do
It's it's amazing, that you do celebrate yourself in that way. Just two more questions, and then we're going to share your information. I want to share the book that you have. as well, if anyone is interested in getting it. So people underestimate how complex it is to leave. You mentioned, having a plan and, making sure, you have your paperwork in order and it's with someone who that the partner or the spouse or whomever would least expect for it to be with. What factors or fears made the decision difficult for you to leave?
I was scared to leave. My mindset wasn't there. Like, I was scared to leave because I'm losing my independence again, right? Which is a prideful thing. Um, Scared to leave because he knew where the house was. Let's be clear. I didn't go to a brand new location. He used to live here, so he knew how to get back here.
Mm-hmm.
Scared to leave because I'm like, Dad, another failed marriage. You know, at this wedding, it wasn't even the wedding I wanted. We ain't had no money, so don't do that again. But um, um, just another failed marriage. So I'm like, Dad, um, but fear and being able to retaliate
Mm.
because he knew where I was.
So that made you stay a lot longer than you would have if he didn't know.
Yeah, like if I was able to literally just escape and
Mhm.
go and not come back, yeah, I might have. Like I don't like to say what I would have done, but
Yeah, that's fair. That's okay. So if you could speak to someone listening right now, and there are people listening and watching, um, who's still in silence, what would you want them to hear from your heart? What would you say to them?
you're not alone.
You're not alone.
And you don't have to keep a muzzle over your mouth. There is freedom on the other side. Um, if I were to bring it to the church world or the kingdom, Jesus said he came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. Abuse is not a part of the abundantly.
That's
And
so good.
it's
Wow.
not a part of it. That's not. It's really not a part of the abundant life. And let me be clear, it's okay to leave that house of worship if that house of worship encourages you to stay in an abusive relationship.
Hmm.
There's a
Hmm.
million churches in the United States alone, about 10 million churches. You come to Brooklyn, you see two on every block. Okay, so it is okay. It's okay to leave. And a lot of times, the people in church don't leave their relationship because they're afraid to leave the church. Like, you too involved. You're the minister's wife. You're the deacon's wife. You're the first lady. Like, you're too afraid. But the church is encouraging the foolishness. They're encouraging the abuse by not supporting your independence, by not supporting your healing, by not supporting your freedom. It's okay to leave. It's okay. And if people try to preach that divorce is a sin, well, God forgives sin.
I love that. Oh, yes, he does.
He forgives it. It's not blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. He forgives it. Hmm. If he could forgive murder, he could forgive divorce. Yes, he can. It's just that simple.
Powerful.
Be free. The late Bishop G.E. Patterson from the good old Church of God in Christ.
Yes.
Be healed, be delivered, and be set free.
Hmm.
So that's my encouragement. My encouragement to
Be
y'all. Be,
healed,
be
be
delivered,
delivered,
and be set free.
free. Last question. How has your experience shaped the way you see love and safety and strength today?
It's a continual shaping. Um, Sometimes, even years later, sometimes I don't know what I need until I'm in a situation. So I still deal with abandonment and rejection issues, but that's not just from my ex-husband, that's from my father.
Yeah, gotcha.
Um, but my ex-husband also used to get up and leave in the middle of the night. And I would wake up to an empty bed and didn't know.
Mm.
That's a whole part that I don't even talk about half of the time. So, um, yeah. So I realize now, if you can't handle my testimony, if you cannot handle my past, if you cannot handle what I've gone through, then you don't deserve me in the future.
Say that last part again, then you don't deserve.
You don't deserve me in the future.
Mm. That's good because this is very much a part of who you are. And I go back to what I said earlier that a lot of times people think because you share this is now I don't know if that was for her or if that was for me, but I love you.
Love you.
We love you. We love you, sissy. You know, like again, going back to what I said earlier about, you know, people feeling like if you share your testimony or you share your story, especially if it's a traumatizing testimony or something traumatic, some people think that you've not healed from it.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, the scripture is very clear. We overcome the devil, the enemy, Satan, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And I know for a fact, at least for me, and this is why I think I connected with you so quickly, was because of the transparency. When it's your testimony and this is what you've identified and you know God is using to free someone else, you can't keep quiet about it. And you've turned a whole business into it. And I want to reiterate that you offer services, counseling, and services for churches to help navigate through this. And so anyone that is watching now or watching in the replay, the name of her company, I'm going to put it up, excuse me, on the lower third, is No More Silence. I have my bracelet, by the way. I've been wearing it.
Okay.
I got my bracelet. Thank you. And I have your book. Tell me about your book. It's called Survivors.
It's the Survivor's Language.
Survivors.
So since then, it's 3 books. So
Correct.
it's the ladies edition, the men's edition, and the teens edition, and I'm finishing up with the children's edition. It's basically a 20-chapter book with statistics, devotionals, prayers, affirmations about different topics that survivors go through. It's our language, and sometimes only a survivor can speak to another survivor.
It's good.
Just like mothers can speak to mothers, preachers can speak to preachers, survivors can speak to survivors. And they're all available on the website on natajasharice.com, where you'll find everything concerning me. The skincare products, the books, my podcast, the business company, No More Secrets, like everything's on that one website. And I'm grateful. That's not the tell-all book, the one that everybody's been waiting for. That's coming soon too.
You are still writing, right? Or you yet to write?
No, I'm like 8 chapters in.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
I have to process it every time I write a chapter. So
I get it.
I gotta pray, ask the Lord to take me there, not re-traumatize me, and come back out in my right mind. So,
and it's possible. It's possible. I think that sometimes, whether it's other people we're dealing with or ourselves, people are like, "Oh, don't say this or don't go there, don't revisit that." We don't fragilize ourselves, nor do we fragilize other people, right? God, that's when we do go to prayer. When we have to, because triggers are real, you know, and it happens. And when this is the assignment that God has given to you to share with other people, you do need to once you revisit something, pray and ask God to help you. You know, something else may come up, go through your counseling, your therapy, and so on and so forth. And so that's good. So you see Taja, we're not gonna call her full name. I'm sorry. We our sister Lisa, she got so many comments on here, I can't even keep up. She is going in, her and Sister Marie. So thank you so much. You see her information on the screen, www.natajasharice.com. You see her IG. Please follow her on IG. She has at Naturally Taja, at no more, excuse me, God forbid there be more, at No More Secrets Inc., and at Naturally Classy Adornments, and at Naturally Classy Consulting, all on IG. Please, you see her Cash App information. I asked her for that. I always, for tonight, I usually every year will take up a collection for an entity out here in Bergen County that I usually give to. It's called Center for Hope and Safety, and it is an organization that supports mothers and children that have been impacted by domestic violence. However, I have her information on the screen. Please, it is not easy to share your story, even when it's God's assignment for you. Even, you know, we don't know what it's like, but I definitely want to sow into her tonight. And so you see her information on the screen. Hi. Oh, somebody else was watching too. I'm gonna, as soon as I take your comment off the screen, you'll see it up there. Okay, good, you see it. Her Cash App is Taja, is $TASJA. That's the Cash App, and then Zelle.
Not complicated. No all the extra stuff.
Not the whole name. It's just the latter part of it. And then her Zelle is Naturally Classy Adornments at Gmail. And listen, I'm going to tell you again, please get her skincare products. She told me I have this body butter. It's called Love. And I love love, right? Everybody knows I love love. You know, no matter what, I love love. So I smelled it and I was like, oh my goodness, I got to have this. And got my little, I don't know what ounces it is, but it's small. But she said a little goes a long way. And I still have it, and my lip balm and all the things. So check her website out. Definitely get yourself some products, get her book. And Taja, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're gonna have to do this again at some point. You know, I appreciate you so very much. Any closing statement that you
Marie knows? She knows about that body butter.
You know, wait a second. It's so funny now. I didn't realize that you all knew each other because she was there that day, and I didn't know that you knew each other. So
I did one of her pop-up shops.
I love it. I love it. Well, we definitely are going to be having some events with Visions of Hope, some self-care events and different things like that. And I would love for you to come out and definitely share your products so people can. I'm always about supporting other people in business. So I'll keep you posted about that. But thank you again. Is there any last comments that you want to give to the audience?
No, just love on you. Be healthy. She said, yes, we go way back. I'm quiet when it comes to the church circle now. I don't be out there no more. I stay in my little circle. I'm good now. That explains all the other stuff. I'm good. But just do
she said body butter.
I say do whatever makes you happy within the guidelines of God. Let's be clear with that part. I still advocate, you know, Jesus is still Lord, right? And so if it's taking a walk, if it's, what is it, earthing or grounding or putting your feet
grounding, yeah, walking with your feet barefoot.
But if it makes you happy, God bless. I'd rather put my feet in a pedicure bowl.
I love it.
No, listen, power than wax. Amen. Praise Jesus. But if it makes you happy,
Mm-hmm.
it pleases God. Live life to the fullest. Live an abundant life. I never thought I would be an author. I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. My only goal was to be a mother and a wife. And that was it. I had no other vision for my life. But God has allowed my pain to turn into purpose, and I am grateful for it. One of my favorite scriptures are, "It was good that I was afflicted, so I may learn His statute."
Mm, 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 mm,
Why
mm.
you're going through what you're going through, but I would have never known God to be a waymaker if I didn't need a waymaker. Never known Him to be a healer if I didn't need to be healed. I would have never known Him to be a savior if I never needed to be saved. And so find out who God is for you and learn how He wants you to live your abundance. That's it. Okay, I'm done.
Sis, all right, you started getting your voice just a little bit. Thank you, Pastor Joyce. On the screen, you see Pastor Joyce A. Jones. Um, if she's listen, when Pastor Joyce comments, she's just not giving words. She's not gassing us up. Thank you for your comments, and it's important. You know, she is a pastor, a woman that is in church. That is the other women's group that I'm a part of. When women pray for you, so she supports this platform, and for her to say both, thank you both for your courage to not keep silent. That is what this is all about. Thank you, Pastor Joyce, and those that are on the When Women Pray for You platform, because this is very important. It's very dear to me. I have my own story we will not even talk about tonight. But I will say emotional abuse is very real as well. And so thank you again, Tasia. I'm just going to close things down. I appreciate you so much. And I look forward to networking with you and working with you and fellowshipping with you again in the future.
Yes,
Thank you so much for being on. And thank you to your supporters and your followers for joining us tonight, too. Bye-bye. Well, everybody, I'm overwhelmed. I am full, like full. My heart is just like right here. And, I appreciate the words from Pastor Joyce. That's so encouraging because when you decide that you're going to step into this kind of content, many people may choose to shy away from it because it's taboo or you're addressing something that maybe the church might not want to be exposed or divulged. Um, but I'm all about us healing and growing and um, becoming emotionally healthy individuals as we grow spiritually. The Bible tells us, I believe it's First Peter. I'm not sure exactly where it is. I was about to give the wrong address, but the scripture says, beloved, I would above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your souls prosper. There's a reason why that even is there. If our souls seem to be prospering spiritually because of the word that we receive in church, then we should also be prospering in our physical health. We should also be prospering in our mental and emotional health and well-being as well. And so I just want to thank you all. I've put all of my contact information on the bottom of the screen. Please, by all means, follow us at www.vohc.life. That is Visions of Hope website. Also, IG at Visions of Hope. And seemingly tonight, the live ended up going over to the Visions of Hope address. We'll figure it out another time. But grateful that it was also on YouTube. And you see the YouTube address there. youtube.com/@VisionsTV7. And also you can follow us on IG at Only One Nay Lachey. It has truly, truly been my honor and my privilege to bring this to you tonight. I'll be posting some additional content. In fact, I'm going to also share some scenes from that movie that I spoke of. I thought about that movie over like a month and a half ago, The Under Shepherd. And if you can catch it, it's free on YouTube. Go pull it up. This again is not just someone's story. One of the things about me, is I am an actor as well as a singer, and I'm also an author. And I always knew that my worlds would collide, that my coaching and counseling would collide with acting. And so seemingly finding that movie, and it happened to pop up, and I didn't even verbalize it because I know somebody's probably like, oh, well, Big Brother is watching, and the algorithm hears what you're saying and all this, that, and the other. I never even verbalized. This is just how great God is. I thought about the movie, and then the next thing I know, it was up on my timeline for YouTube, and it's called The Under Shepherd. But there are so many movies out there with regards to this subject, domestic abuse or intimate partner abuse. The bottom line is this: whether it's in the church space, whether it's in our communities and our families, please do not keep silent about this. They say that everyone knows someone who is impacted by domestic abuse. It could be you or somebody that you know, but the bottom line is that we don't want to remain silent about it. Again, domestic abuse and intimate partner abuse is not just about physical abuse. It will start sometimes with emotional abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse. When you get that check in your spirit that something's not right, something's off, don't ignore it. Pay attention to it. And as our sister said earlier, please, for those who are still in it and haven't gotten out yet, please be safe. Be safe. We want you to be safe. Thank you, Pastor Joyce. I appreciate you so much. She's my midwife, you guys. Whether it's me doing a show or something like this, she's always praying me through. Likewise, I want to acknowledge my mom. I know she's watching. She's praying me through. My first lady and members of my church, Auntie Candy, Alicia Tyler. Thank you all so much. This again is a topic that was not easy to share, but I will continue to share content like this. Going back to that movie, it is art imitating life. So if it's present in a movie, it may very well be going on in churches and we don't even know it. We want to provide safe spaces for people to be able to speak out and speak up. We want to be the voice for people that have been silent and can't speak up for themselves. And so thank you again so much, everyone, for your time. Thank you for sharing this. Please like and share. Please subscribe on our YouTube channel, because we want to make sure we're getting this kind of content out. Thank you. I can't say it enough. Thank you to Lisa. Thank you to Vermarie and all of the other people that may have been watching that may not have commented. I want to say thank you. Again, we'll be posting some additional content this week. Go to Taja's page and please like her page as well. Subscribe to her page as well. Follow whatever you do, wherever you are, Facebook, YouTube, IG. Please share the wealth. This is wealth. This is information that is wealthy, healthy information, because somebody may be suffering that you don't even know about. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you again for joining us, and stay tuned. We're going to have some additional podcasts and come up. I'm going to be having, I was going to call him Bishop. His name is Pastor Joseph Graham, who was with us last year talking about the intersection between faith and mental health. And from a male's perspective, he's going to share, let's see. Someone said, I don't know who this is, but the question is, and I'm going to close on this: why do you think there are some of us who don't feel safe sharing in the church or in ministries? And I think that Taja addressed it earlier, and I will add to it. It's very possible that you do not believe that you're going to be heard or received. It's very possible that a person may not share because they know that someone's going to just say, go pray. Sometimes people are not believed, and especially when it is relating to leadership in church, if that person is the abuser, that person may remain silent. And I'm looking at the green room. Taja is shaking her head yes. So there are probably so many different reasons why. And this, again, is a conversation that we can continue to have. I had no intention of being on here for close to 2 hours, but this stuff, listen, when it's information like this, we don't mind taking the time because honestly, I was going to share this, but God gave me a word in August of 2024 about entertainment and how the world is numbing themselves with entertainment. So if we can watch and binge watch television shows and different things like that for over 2 hours, certainly we can have a podcast or whatever you want to call it, a session, webinar, whatever, for 2 hours. It's interesting how we don't sit when we need to be sitting, and then we can entertain stuff that doesn't really feed our souls. But I'm gonna leave that alone. Thank you so much for joining us again. And as I always say, be kind to yourself, have grace with yourself, love yourself, and remember that you are good enough just as you are. God loves you, and so do I. And let's not keep silent, because silence is violence. We love you so much. Peace and blessings.